Hello and welcome to Aldente Rigamortis. I'm Review Cultist.
I'm Mikey, E stands for evil.
I'm the gamer in yellow.
And we're here to discuss those internet stories, most creepy and most pasta, and be critically silly doing it. And tonight we have Hangman Games. So this is another one by WontThinkStraight. So Hangman Games is on Reddit NoSleep along with all the other WontThinkStraight stories. So you can check it out there. And I guess we'll give our initial recommendations for this one. I'm going to recommend it.
I'm partially going to recommend it.
I'm also on the partial side of things, so I'm back on top of the fence.
Yeah, but you have a buddy there now.
Yeah.
Well, I might fall off.
on the recommend side, right? On the recommend side, right?
I don't know about
that. Well, we'll see. We'll see how things go when we give our actual thoughts and discussions and stuff of the story. But before we do that, we should do the rundown. So, WontThinkStraight and Steve were at a Halloween party recently, and there was a competition to tell their scariest story. WTS didn't win, but Steve did, with a story that WTS has since transcribed here for us, the reader. Steve was interviewing a woman named Sarah. This isn't my story, guys. I swear.
Uh-huh. Did you say so? Mr. Person who puts Sarah's in everything.
Interviewing this woman named Sarah who lost her husband to cancer. It hit her and her husband. It hit her.
It hit the husband pretty hard too, honestly.
God damn it! It hit her and her son Luke really badly. Luke specifically, since he only got a few years with his father and was there when he passed. Luke and his dad, Tom, by the way, would play pen and paper games since Tom was so weak from the chemo that he was basically bedridden all the time. And one of their favorite games was Hangman. They'd play the game till Tom dozed off, and Luke would nap next to him. Hold back the tears, guys. It gets worse. Sarah came in one day to find that Luke had woken up from a nap, and Tom never did. Their last game of Hangman unfinished. Sometime after Tom's death, Luke eventually started acting happier, and Sarah discovered it was because he had been using a Ouija board to talk to his dad and play more games of Hangman. Sarah started using the Ouija board herself to talk to Tom, and life was getting a little bit better. Then, one night, Sarah checked on Luke in his room to find him dead, neck snapped, and the floor littered with pages of Hangman. In her pain and grief, she noticed the messages of these games, and they seemed to indicate that it may not have been Tom talking to them all this time on the other side of the Ouija board. That it may have been someone called the Hangman. Of course, Sarah ended up being accused of Luke's death by authorities, and she didn't even bother resisting. She now serving a life sentence. Finn. That's Hangman Games. So, suppose we should move on to everyone tolerates the Grammar Inquisitions. At this point, I've got a couple. I'm gonna start with this one here. To him, it didn't feel right for anyone else finish it. So I think it should be for anyone else to finish it. And I know a lot of this is going to be a transcript of like dialogue, so like it's the way the character talked, but come on.
Yes, but did he actually get a recording of the interview, or is it just based on like what he remembered being said?
Like it could have been, like again, like, and also with the transcript, you can fix some of those things to make it more readable.
Yeah, although he said he didn't want to edit it. He said he lightly edited it, but he didn't want to chop it down. So that would actually kind of sound like a proofread at least.
Yeah, which, based on the handful of typos I have did not happen. But I digress. I'll move on. Except he had completed it in now. So I think you need to remove that in at the end there. So except he had completed it now.
That might be sort of like, but he had filled it in now, sort of deal.
Maybe, but then change completed to like except he had filled it in now.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the next one I have here, nothing. Then the ring started to move, slowly at first, then faster. It moved to the hello in the bottom corner. So I actually kind of feel like there should be a little bit more added here. So this is how I kind of fixed it. So nothing. And then the next sentence down is like just as I was about to pack it in, however, that's when the ring started to move. It just a little bit extra to add that there, just so like for the transition between like nothing happening and then something happening.
Yeah, compared to it just immediately snapping from 1 to 2. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Okay. And then my next one here. Tom was telling me he always with me. Apparently, being this sad brings out caveman speech. Needs a second was in there, so it's like Tom was telling me he was always with me. And then a similar one is the next. This is the next and final one I have. It was very slow. It was very slow way to talk, but I treasured every moment of it. It was a very slow way to talk. Yeah, just a little bit of like a few words just missing, and like again, in lore, because again, assuming these are actually like happening kind of thing in the story, like this is a transcript of somebody's dialogue, so like they are like sniffling and crying while they do the interview, so like they may not get the words up completely, but to what Gamer said earlier, is this a transcript from like a direct like recording, or is this like what Steve told WTS kind of thing? And so like some and again when you're editing even a transcript, like you sometimes want to like edit some things for clarity to make for the reader kind of thing. So but yeah, that's the end of my grammar inquisition. Mikey, the E stands for evil.
All right, I have one. I was rocking and forth with my boy in my arms.
Right, yeah.
I don't know how I'm missing all of these.
That should be like was it rocking back and or
No,
was it
it's just rocking and. They
it
didn't
should
have a
be
back.
so it should be rocking back and forth.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And then I have a conjunction junction.
Okay.
Do you have your popcorn ready?
Oh god.
Oh god, it's the bad one.
Yeah. All right. I'll prep the timestamp for our listeners.
And next stop, conjunction junction. Doot, doot.
So, are you ready to start? It never gets any easier. It is tough. It feels like it's been so long, but I still can't stop thinking about him. It just hurts so much, it really kills me inside. It's the little things, you know? It's like death by 1,000 cuts. Or when I would watch TV on the couch and the actor we'd both make fun of would be on. It's like that. And it frustrates the hell out of you that you can't just ignore it or reach out and grab it either. It wouldn't be good for the baby. But do you know what? It's the one thing I feel very angry at Tom for. But I feel so guilty for being angry because it's so unfair. And then that. But you get used to it, I guess. So, you were telling me about Tom. It was his favorite. and he really loved drawing that little Hangman figure. But rather than wake his dad, Luke would decide it was his nap time too. It was a real Kodak moment, you know? But life doesn't work that way, right? It can't be time yet. So it was pretty hard for both of you, understandably. But you'd be surprised just how much there was still left to say. And the really funny thing is, I would have given anything to talk to him again. And what about Luke? And that one never completed game of Hangman on the last page. It wasn't the photos of what Tom looked like before Luke was born, or that gaunt, tired figure lying in bed that Luke remembered his dad by. It was those games. It would be like desecrating the memory of his dad, I guess. But that changed, right? It was more real to him than the photo albums we had. And it wasn't the last game anymore. But he eventually said he'd tell me if I promised not to get mad or punish him. So, what was going on? It was a Ouija board stolen from his sister. But all that noise was drowned out by the only question I really cared about. Did it work? It was a price I'd gladly pay 1,000 times over if it worked. So, after Luke had gone to sleep, I took out the Ouija board and set it on the dining table. It seemed like such an innocent thing, you know? It had 2 rows of letters from A to Z at the top, then a row of numbers from 0 to 9 at the bottom. It also came with this glass ring. What's the word for it? Land something? So I placed my finger on it and waited. It glided smoothly on the board in whichever direction I pushed it. So I touched the ring again. It moved to the hello in the bottom corner. It was making such small movements. So I asked another question. It was Tom. It was painfully slow, but we were talking. Or that he doesn't have much time before he needs to go again? It's been so hard without you here, you know? Or because he says you've been playing hangman with him. But you know what? It may only have been a few words, but to me, it was everything. And for what purpose? So I relented a little. So you did try to contact Tom again? It was my obsession. And he did get in contact several times over the weeks. It was very slow way to talk, but I treasured every moment of it. It was sometimes surreal. It seemed death didn't dull his libido. It was almost enough to make me want to go to bed. It always does. It's still a blur, really. It sounds cliched, but it really was like a dream. It's the last thing I remember. Finn.
Wow. That is very long, but also very like cut down, trimmed, edited version of the story that's going on. One thing that did come to me because like you brought it, it's like it's a Ouija board that was stolen from his sister. It's like, wait, Luke had a sister. Wait, there's a daughter in here somewhere.
Well, in the story, it's his friend's sister.
Yeah, but I mean, the way because of how you
Yeah.
did the conjunction junction, it sounded like there was a sister involved as well.
Mhm.
These things happen when Mikey grabs a bunch of sentences through the story that start with words that they probably shouldn't, like its, ends, or buts. Because there's usually better words to use, but this is entirely dialogue, so
Indeed,
you know.
but Mikey is nothing if not pedantic. No,
He's got a job to do here.
yeah.
That's why he gets paid the big bucks.
You get paid.
Uh,
But yeah, I guess we'll move on to the grammar in yellow.
no, we're not. I don't have any.
Cool. All right, let's move on to actual thoughts then. So we're going to start with the first sentence. At a recent
one of
Halloween,
these.
yeah, at a recent Halloween party, we had a contest to see who had the best new horror story. I didn't win, but Steve did with another story from his interviews. I was going to say, with the stories that these two have collected over the year or over these past few like entries and stuff like that, it had to be one of them that was going to win this Halloween horror story contest.
Really?
So yeah, but then my next one here, Luke was the only thing that kept me going, and then in brackets, or in what are those square brackets called?
There's still brackets.
Just brackets, okay. And then in brackets and bolded and italicized. Luke's your son, right? Denoting that it's Steve talking to Sarah. And honestly, like yeah, so like italics and bolded for the second voice of this transcript being Steve. At least it's bolded because like honestly, like I had to like take a second look to realize it was italics.
The italics don't do anything. It could have literally
it
been bold and not bold for the two people, and that's enough distinction. But the fact that it's also italicized and also in brackets is good too.
Yeah,
They're trying everything they can to separate them without having it being Steve, Sarah, like back and forth constantly.
Yeah. But getting back to my actual point here, I do really like that it is bolded, at least for all of Steve's entries, and also even bracketed to denote that it's the other person in the dialogue here between the two characters, because sometimes when we have these transcripts where it's talking between like one person and another person, it can get really heavily muddied.
Yeah,
as to who's talking. Sure. So this is a very clean kind of transcript by having a non-bolded person for like the bulk of the story, and then all the questioning from the interviewer being all bolded. Also, something I noted here: Luke's dead, right? Like that, like literally from this point of the story, I was like, oh, Luke's gonna be dead by the end of the story. And sure enough, at the end, we get this. Sarah is currently serving a life sentence for the murder of her son, Luke. She didn't know. She did not contest. She did not contest the guilty verdict and has no plans to. Yeah, I sort of felt like Luke was dead, would be dead by the end of this story. Just the way certain things early on were mentioned. It just kind of felt to me like that this is the kind of story where like Sarah's the only one who survived the situation.
Yeah. And also, like, I get why she didn't bother arguing it, because, like, what's she gonna say? A ghost did it?
Yeah, exactly. Or even and she said she's already like told the story to everybody, and like yeah, we're not going to listen to her because like to the bulk of the world, ghosts don't exist. So yeah. Also, yeah, something that also kind of I think like kind of brought to mind that like, oh, like Sarah's like not doing very good, and like, but she's the only survivor kind of thing. This is a story by Steve, or like an interview by Steve, and his stories generally are interviews with people in prison or in institutions. So
it could have been an institution though.
Yeah, it could have been an institution, but then, in that which case, like Luke might be at like a family member, like a relatives or something like that, or in protective services or child services kind of thing. But yeah, it wasn't very good. I mean, not to say the story wasn't very good. I mean, like the situation here isn't very good for Sarah.
From the get-go, she was something bad was going to happen, you know.
Yeah. Then the next thing I have here, this is kind of connected to what I was saying about the bolding for the interview stuff. So here's the quote: your senses and logic may tell you there's nothing there. ... But you still feel the itching, and you can't scratch it. So feel in this sentence is capitalized, and there's a number of sentences in the story that have certain words that are capitalized, or not capitalized, bolded. I mean, that are bolded in the story, and I'm assuming that it's used that way for like emphasis, like how she's like kind of, like how she's saying it, like, but you still feel the itching kind of thing, yeah. Or, I would have given anything to talk to him again, like that kind of stuff. But I'm fine with it for the most part, but because the bolding is used for Steve's side of the conversation, I also kept thinking that like Steve was interjecting or like adding like helping Sarah along. Well, not like yes and no. Like I was like I knew obviously it was used for emphasis from Sarah, but part of my mind kept kind of bring up the scenario where like it might be like Steve like trying to help her along. It's like we're like help her find the word.
Well, it's clearly not in italics. Like
I mean, that's true. I mean, yeah, clearly, yeah. I mean, like italics are just so
easy to. Yeah, it's so easy to tell when italics are there.
Yeah,
but I'm with you. Like, just straight up all caps would have worked better.
Yeah, especially since one of them does just straight up do anything, or does like all caps with like I said, like I would have given anything, and then like dash. And then all caps, anything with bolded as well, to talk to him again, kind of thing. So, yeah. Then my next one here. That day came when Luke woke up, but Tom didn't. When I found them both, he was holding on to Tom, hugging him tightly. He was crying and pleading with his dad not to go. It can't be time yet. I love you, Dad. Please don't go. We haven't finished our game yet, he cried. I'm not crying. You guys are crying. When's the horror showing up?
It's always been there.
Yeah, goddamn, it always was.
Yeah,
the astronaut with a gun meme.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I almost forgot what this story was titled. Or about until the Hangman game was mentioned also.
It took a long ass time for that to show up.
Yeah, it was like, oh right, yeah, this is called Hangman games. Like just kind of like, because I was also mostly because I was just kind of immersed with this family tragedy. Like it's really done the story and like her dialogue does a good job at like telling us this sad story about this character's decline. And like how it impacts his family, and stuff like that. So
it did feel like an eternity for the actual story to start.
Literally, I think it was like halfway through the stories when shit happened.
It's not actually halfway because it is a long story, but it's 5,000 characters deep when it's mentioned.
500 characters out of 500 characters out of how many characters overall though? 5,000
characters, I said.
Oh, okay. All right, 5,000 characters out of how many characters overall?
Give me a minute.
Yeah, fuck
1,
you, gamer.
2, 3. Okay, go like this, and then new.
Never mind. I can also look at the word count. Out of 1,800 or 18,000, or just under 19,000 characters overall.
Yep, pretty much.
And then excluding spaces, it's apparently just over 15,000. But yeah, so yeah, just like again, the story was very like again, it did like it plays on your emotions, like because like you're reading the story about like about a family that's dealing with a parent or like a parent whose health is declining, or a parent and a husband whose health is declining, and then like this family having to deal with like that tragedy of when they finally pass and stuff like that, and then the horror shows up. It's actually kind of a very classic like horror movie setup. Like most movies, like most horror movies I watch nowadays, usually have like there's like a very sad thing that like has like caused the family great grief in the first 30 minutes of the movie, and it's them like dealing with that tragedy and like trying to move on, and then the movie kind of picks up when they've basically stepped into a haunted house, or they bought a haunted house, or they've encountered something that starts stalking them, sort of situation. So the horror movies or that narrative sort of like plays on the family that's dealing with this grief, and then adding on with this horror element. So it's just a classic kind of trope and narrative device. Yep. And moving on to the next thing I have here. And the really funny thing is, I would have given anything to talk to him again. Sometimes you have to be careful what you wish for, though, right? Uncomfortable laugh. So I read that I got to this part of the story. I was like, oh, is the Hangman game gonna be like a Ouija board or a spirit board situation? Like they can talk to Tom through the Hangman game. And my update here
really?
was, yeah. Basically, at this point, I was like, oh, it's gonna be like that's what's gonna happen. An update, it's not quite, but a Ouija board is involved to play the Hangman game with the dead. So it was like I was like half right there on that speculation at this point in the story. Then the next thing I have is, so I relented a little. I let him play with the board for a couple of hours after school and before dinner. Besides, it was hypocritical of me to not let him when I was using it too. And so this is like when she, for some reason, decides to like forbid her son from using the Ouija board after she was using it as well. And then relents eventually. Honestly, I'm a little surprised how harshly she forbade Luke from playing the game, or playing using the board game or the Ouija board and stuff from the get-go. Like it might just be a coping mechanism, like to mundanify the Ouija board stuff, and may just be like, and it may not be. I'm not sure how like super healthy that is mentally, like for long term, but like short term, like that might help. That it seemed to be helping him cope with the grief of his the loss of his father. So like it can't be doing too much
immediately.
Yeah, like no, that's what I mean. Like so, like like it's being used as a coping mechanism for their grief. If you want to mundanify like what the Ouija board does and stuff, and like worst case scenario, it might not be Tom on the other end of that planchette. That's what a glass ring on a Ouija board is called. And what she was
it's a plan something.
Yeah, plan something. You know, it's a plan. But given that she was using it too, it did feel a little nonsensical and selfish of her. But then I guess that's also what grief does to some people. So like they don't really think logically, or like they think with their emotions more with situations like that. So
I wish it said why she was being harsh and not saying that you can't use it. Like something like, I didn't want to let him use it in case he broke it. Like I needed this.
Oh, that that would have been really good. Yeah, like have it like show show more about like that, like her grief is making her selfish about it. Like it's like she's becoming so like she says that she's upset. It was an obsession. Like show that obsession in the story.
Yes.
Or like show some of those actions. And yeah, I agree. That would definitely elevate this part of the story. But move on to the next thing I have here. I'd be sitting by myself with the board set up and my finger on the ring, like I did every night. I'd keep whispering, "Are you there?" every few minutes until the ring finally started to move again. Yeah, you really should be more specific when you're trying to talk to the dead with a Ouija board. And I
think she knows all the ins and outs of using a Ouija board?
Obviously not, but like I just noticed that she wasn't saying, Tom, are you there? And like when you say, are you there, but don't give a name, you're inviting anything to come over or to show up.
How that works?
Yeah, that's legitimately like there are like legit rules to like that's what when you start a Ouija board thing session, you do the whole thing, and then you have to in order to like close that door, um, based on the assuming you think that's real or like the stuff's like happening and whatnot, you're actually supposed to like move the planchette over to goodbye to close the connection. Like you're basically supposed to hang up properly. Otherwise things might follow you through the Ouija board.
So I wonder if Luke was doing it correctly because he was given the Ouija board by someone who possibly knows how to use it. So he was actually talking to his dad, but then Sarah picked it up and she didn't know what she was doing, so she caused all this to happen. Well, she invited someone else in.
I think that's what happened. But I think like she kind of brings up in the story and what we kind of get from the first encounters with Tom in quotes. I think that first day was Tom. Like those first few encounters was Tom, because he even said like I have to go kind of thing. Like I'm always with you, that kind of stuff. And then after that, we started getting like weirder, like kind of like more intimate and like kind of. If they weren't like as an outsider, they kind of sound like they sound like red flags. So we're like I think that first bit might have been Tom, like right before he departed for like the Beyond, and then everything else after that was them inviting something else to the door or to the board, basically.
In the second, like all the things that only Tom would know.
Yeah. No, that's immediately. Yeah, that was the first time. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Right. Then everything else was just kind of like skeevy shit.
Yeah, like and we're actually about to get that in my next note.
Yeah.
Which is sometimes it was even passionate. There were some funny ones. It seemed death didn't dull his libido. He once even spelled out, "I watch you shower," and I was just like, as soon as I read that, I was like, "This isn't Tom anymore, is it?" I was like, well, I asked for the horror.
I didn't really know where the story was going. I didn't like think it wasn't Tom. I just thought like maybe he just got creepy when he's dead.
Yeah. Well, again,
or they're trying to display it as. I took it at face value as if like they're not trying to be creepy with it. They're just trying to be like he's always there, still with her, kind of deal.
Fair. Yeah, no, I have too much experience with a Ouija board and spirit board stuff, like through stories and even through like some familial accounts of using the Ouija board, to know that like you got to be careful around those things. If you don't like fully believe in that shit, like you never know what you're gonna be what you're doing like when you're trying to invoke that kind of stuff. Like yeah, I've seen too many horror movies and horror stories where it's just like, oh, that's not Tom on the other end. Like there's like a couple of moments where we're just like, oh no, this is where it's going.
Yeah.
But honestly, that's the end of my actual thoughts. So, Mikey, D stands for evil.
Right. So the first thing here is the Ouija board. I'm no expert, but don't you need 2 or 3 people to use one?
No, you can do it solo. It is a part. It was made by Hasbro as a party game. But you can use a spirit board. Like even like outside of the Hasbro, like the commercialized one, like spirit boards, I believe you can use solo. So.
It's just hard mode when you're going solo because it's not co-op anymore. Yeah. So you're taking all the aggro.
Yeah, exactly. You better make sure you say goodbye at the end of a call.
Okay. Yeah. Well, it's just every time I've seen a Ouija board used in media or whatever, there's always 2 or 3 people.
Yeah, that's mostly because like in those movies, there's a group of people that are being they have to have like more. They have to have diversity in their haunting.
Mhm.
And unfortunately, in this story, there's only one person. There isn't a child that she can, use the Ouija board with.
I know, like,
Cough,
is it like,
cough.
yeah, I know that. Honestly, that would have like that would have actually been a nice like bonding moment between the two if both of them were using it to talk to Tom.
Mhm. Yeah.
But then again, like Luke seemed to be like pretty adamant about like playing Hangman game with his dad because it was like their time kind of situate thing. So yeah.
And then the other thing is that I have here is the last Hangman note is too close to completion.
Is that the where it's like you shouldn't have yeah, I think I know what you're talking about with this. It's what does it say?
Yeah, it says now you are too late. Like there's no way he was unable to say A and get that and not be Hangman.
Yeah.
But it's too
Yeah.
late. You see.
Yeah, but then like the next one like but then he clearly made another Hangman game. Also, yeah, he made another Hangman game without finishing the last one. So wait, like
No, this is the last one. It's incomplete.
no, it was like at least no the start give me chills. Now you were too late, and then the last game at the bottom, a completed drawing on the Hangman was scrawled beside it. Oh, why did I think there was another one? My
I
bad.
don't know.
Yeah, sorry. I thought there was another one below, like after that one. I must have been thinking of that like that. There's like a couple like dashes or underscore dashes after that paragraph or like that set of lines. I was like, oh, maybe that's what I was thinking. But yeah, no, yeah, he definitely would have been like Hangman from that last message. Like
I get what you're trying to
before
say.
that. Yeah, well before that last message. I mean.
Yeah, but maybe he was also just drawing the game out because he was enjoying it, playing it.
Yeah, actually, hang on. So like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8,
If you're
9. Yeah, I'm counting all the individual like all the letters that like aren't repeated. So yeah, he had about 9 letters.
You only put marks on the Hangman when you miss one.
Yeah.
So it has nothing to do with the amount that are there.
Oh, really? Okay, I thought it was yeah, my bad. It's been a while since I played Hangman myself.
Okay, fair. Yeah, you don't get punished for doing it right.
Yeah, I think I was 12 last time I played Hangman. So.
Yeah. So yeah, it's sort of like, well, why is it unfinished? Like,
yeah, that's true.
Clearly, he could have gotten that right.
Yeah.
Finished because he died. Like,
yeah, he was being choked. Yeah, he was being choked.
Why are we still talking about this? He freaking died.
Yeah, like it's clear. Like I kind of get where Mikey's saying. Like I think it's like trying to get like at like the message is too complete for him to actually have made Hangman. Like because I think you're assuming that like that by drawing out the Hangman, he's basically like it's like a simulacrum to himself. It's like sympathetic magic.
Yeah. But basically, by drawing the Hangman, he noosed himself.
Yeah.
Yeah. But if you're playing the game and you're that close to winning,
yeah,
you don't just hang yourself.
Yeah, unless he was just like trying to like it's like I can just imagine like Luke is just like nah, like he's trying to complete it, but he's getting choked. He's like no.
You're also assuming that like okay, we don't know what the hell happened.
Yeah.
You guys are basically assuming that he's just sitting down there playing a normal game of Hangman. Meanwhile, this thing could have been just immediately attacked him, and it's filling in the Hangman as he's killing him. And the closer he gets to death, the closer it's to like completion.
Yeah, that's true. It could have like taken over his body and like had like it was like the things behind him as a shade, like choking him as part of the possession. And like the more life he drains, is like the more he has control of him to like write down the messages.
Yeah, he's giving him like one guess every time. Or something like that while he's being choked, so he can't exactly think correctly.
I'm not gonna lie. I don't know if you guys thought the same thing, but like when she called for Luke for dinner and he didn't like show up, I was like, oh no, is she gonna go into his room? Oh, she's going to his room. Oh fuck! Is Luke gonna have hanged himself, like for reals?
Oh God, you're thinking real life
like
horror.
I was thinking like
Yeah.
what I was thinking Tom told him to like come come to him or something like that, or not Tom was going to say like something through the Hangman messages, basically saying hang your basically hang yourself to come to me kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh fuck! Like I was worried because I've seen that movie too, where like a spirit starts talking to a kid and then tries to convince the kid to kill themselves so that they can be with them. Legitimately, actually, I think that was actually in a Disney movie too recently.
Smart.
Yeah, in
So dark. Sure, it's not part of the Disney universe.
Yeah, if you know which movie I'm talking about, I don't want to necessarily spoil which movie it is, but if you know, you know which Disney movie I'm talking about. But yeah, also it happens in a couple of other like horror movies where like again like a character or a youth is grieving over the loss of their family member, and then they're like tricked by some other spirit that's like that they're that loved one and that they should come see them kind of thing. So yeah, I was definitely like, oh no, are we gonna like see a scene where like Luke's been like hanged himself? And we didn't quite get that, but it's still not great what happened to Luke.
But again, we don't know what happened. He could have been floating in the air through these like mystical like hands holding him, which is effectively making him hang himself.
Yeah. The spirit itself could have like directly come out of the board or come out of the game and hanged him. So oh god, that would actually be really cool. I'm thinking of this like cinematically. As my coping mechanism for like the material that's being the subject matter. But like in a horror movie, I could see it like he's starting to play a game and stuff like that, and then like some of the messages start getting like really weird. It's like I am the Hangman, like the last one that actually like fully pops up, and then Luke starts choking, like he starts going for his neck and starts like getting lifted up off the ground, as though he's being like pulled up and like by his neck, and then like some lighting like happens, like some lighting flares or something like that to show like his shadow, and you see basically a noose in the shadow, but not in the real world. Like his shadow is being hanged, and so like through that simulacrum, he's being hanged himself. And then it just jerks and like pops his neck, kind of thing.
Shit's fucked up.
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever happened there was fucked up for sure.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And the other thing is, isn't it really hard to play Hangman with a Ouija board? Like, you're the one giving the letters, not the other way around. So.
Okay.
Wait, hang.
Right? Because
I'm trying to remember. Yeah, I'm trying to think. It's like
the spirit has to tell you how many words are in it and how long the words are.
Okay. Yeah. So so that's how they're doing it, and then my guess is Luke is like guessing is like, is it this one or is there this word or is there this letter, and then it'd be go to yes or no. And then so I mean it'd be a little bit longer, but like when you're like desperate to talk and interact with your dead loved one, like you're willing to go with those extra steps.
Yeah, something like Luke would be like, "How many letters?" And then he'd say 5.
Yeah,
and then
because there's
the game started. Is there a P? No. Go fish.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, exactly. Go fish.
I know how to play the
game. Yeah, like no, like that's exactly it. Like like there are like letters, there's numbers, and there's the yes and no and goodbye and below. Like that's it. That's what they even say in the story. I do also kind of appreciate that the story also explains the Ouija board.
Yes, actually.
Yeah,
for sure.
But the thing is, like, the question is, you say a letter like E in the last one here. So, yes, it's there, but then it's like, well, where is the E located? And it has 0 through 9 on the board, but there's more than 9 characters in that last message. So it makes it even harder to communicate like teams and stuff.
Or maybe he could ask like, what space is it on, and then like he'd use a number like it's on space like 5 or 7 or whatever. So like he'd know because he'd dash out how many spaces there are for the words, and then he'd So I think that might be what they're how they do it maybe.
Yeah.
Again, it's a bit convoluted. And it's a bit like it's phone tag, or it's not phone tag, but it's like there's extra steps. But again, I'm fine with it because it kind of is explained through the story that like they're grieving for the loss of Tom and they're desperate to talk to Tom and communicate with the because they want more time, so they're willing to give that extra time.
I think this is the least of our worries. I don't know why we're holding on this for so long. Like it would work. It's annoying, but it would work.
Yeah. Well, Mikey's concerned that like this might be a plot hole, and we've now thoroughly explained that no, it is not a plot hole.
I don't think it is.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it would work out. It would be fine.
All right. Well, that's into my actual thoughts.
Okay. Gamer.
Okay. What do I have left? Because I did chime in a little bit.
And you totally have
I always have notes. I've been making notes all the time. I've never not ever read the story. Regardless. So the story starts out with Sarah basically speaking about her lost husband. And she goes to explain the things that she does every day that reminds her of him, makes her sad. And then it goes into, on good nights, I might be able to cry myself to sleep. On bad nights, I just lie awake, wishing I was asleep and hoping I would never wake up again. So, like, 2 for 2, WTS is busting out, like, real-world horror and depression vibe in these stories, because last week's was not any better.
Last episode you guys were on, because there's been I had some guests.
The last WTS story was also sad and depressing.
and like these may not have been the best stories to read during January, like or during the winter time.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Also, seasonal depression. Yay!
Love it. Like it's impactful stuff, but like.
Yeah.
Damn if it isn't depressing to read, especially if you like connect with Sarah's experience too, which I kind of do in a way. Yeah. So it was like didn't enjoy reading it.
I'm sorry, buddy.
Yeah, I mean, it should happen.
Unfortunately, that is like sort of the name of our show, or the name of the game for our show. Like we're not sure.
It's called Al Dente Rigor Mortis, actually.
Yeah, but I mean, like we're not like we don't like. Like for the audience, we don't vet these stories ahead of time.
No, not at all.
So like we just kind of like read them and based it off of and like go from there. So yeah,
much.
I mean, this could have easily been a story about like about a dog dying, and then I'd be real sad.
Yep. There's a lot of horrible shit that happens out there, real world and otherwise.
Yeah, but be fair. That's also that's where the prospect of horror is. Addressing these kind of like sad and tragic things, or these darker themes. So
yeah, for sure. Yeah. But yeah, all my other notes I actually chimed in on, so I have nothing else to say note-wise.
Nothing else to say except this story made me real sad.
Yeah.
Oh. If you were here, gamer, I would give you a hug.
I appreciate that. But I'm fine.
Okay.
Give you a hug because your neck has been snapped.
Mikey! Jeez.
I mean, you've threatened to murder me so many times on this show.
Yeah, but
on this show and on our sister podcast, One Last Die.
It's all in good fun.
Plug. Me with bullets.
Shit. Well, I suppose we'll move on to final thoughts then. With that, thoughts. Yeah, I'm still gonna recommend it. I did enjoy it. It's even amidst the sad themes. It's a fairly simple ghost story setup, but really tugs at your heartstrings. There's some stuff that could be refined like just one or two character actions, perhaps, or some things elaborated on. But otherwise, I think it all works on the whole. So I'm still willing to give it a full recommendation. Mikey D stands for evil.
Okay. Let's see. Well, I guess most of my Ouija board stuff has been
Debunked
yeah,
or
but
refuted.
I still don't really care for the ending because she's serving a life sentence for murder of her son and did not contest the guilty verdict and has no plans to. Like,
I mean, like, how are you going to refute it?
well,
She could
but
get a plea. She could get
Saying a ghost killed her.
Yeah, she
killed
could
him,
plead.
rather.
She could plead insanity.
yeah. Well, like the thing is, like, she doesn't know what happened, but she's still pleading guilty because the spirit's not going to get her in jail. Like,
I don't think that's it at all. I think it's just
Really,
like,
just who's gonna believe her?
I think she just gave up. Like that, like her accept, like just like not even fighting it. It's just like her accepting, like she's lost, like completely. Like she gave up completely. Like she
Paul
lost.
doesn't believe in spirits and all this stuff. The spirit has her over a barrel. She's kind of screwed.
Yeah,
That's how I saw it, anyways.
yeah. No, I'm same.
well, but I mean, you would still contest the guilty verdict, even
Okay,
if
so
Go ahead and
hang
contest
on.
it.
Yeah,
You're
you
bench.
yeah. No, hang on. Okay, so you're gonna yeah. So you want to contest this after you've lost the love of your life and your only child to something that you can't explain. You're already grieving as it was, and then you just kind of broke from the loss of the loss of your son. Your only anchor for happiness in the world. Like,
yeah, but
I'm not saying like it's right, like that she's been condemned for this, but that is kind of the horror of real life as well, of this situation. Like, she
well,
is getting hammered for something she didn't do and had no control over.
She isn't pleading guilty. She's just not resisting the charges because she's just like, whatever. Like, I can't do anything regardless.
Yeah, no one's gonna believe. Like I've tried telling like countless people, and none of them are really believing me. So, yeah,
Like, she didn't go to court pleading guilty. She went to court. They laid out the evidence, and they said you're guilty. And she's like, okay.
yeah.
Like, what am I gonna do?
yeah, but if she's using the ghost defense of insanity, then
She's not gonna get off like scot
She'll go.
free,
Yeah,
though.
no.
No.
So she won't get a life sentence, but now she's going to be institutionalized.
yeah, but it's still like the thing is you always have someone fighting for you in the justice system. So
Her lawyer would say, just plead insanity.
Yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah, I do hear you, Mikey. It is like it is unfair. But this was never going to have a happy ending.
No.
yeah. Anyway, so continue on. I'm still only going to give this a partial.
Okay. And gamer.
Yeah, for me, it's a rough read, especially if like you've lost anyone in your immediate family by any means, because like everyone is going to be dealing with the same thing, and it happens to most people. So doubly so, like it's hard to recommend it in that case to those people specifically.
Yeah.
That being said, like when the story actually starts, it's good enough. It just I felt the zinger at the end wasn't as impactful as the hype of the start of the story said. Because the story basically said, like, it's a long one, but stick with it. You'll be happy you did. I'm like, I'm so sad. I wish I did.
Yeah, that's fair. Also, you know what? I might alter my recommendation here, rather than like a full recommendation. Like I will recommend it, but conditionally. Like maybe don't give this to your friend who's like suffering from like seasonal depression or like
Yeah, read the room.
exactly. Read the room when you recommend this. Like
For sure. But otherwise, the story's like competent enough. I didn't notice any of the millions of typos that were in this because I was just reading it and quote unquote enjoying it. As best to my ability as possible, anyways. Yeah, the whole thing with the Hangman part and like having the little like cutouts showing the Hangman messages being said is all cool. I just kind of wish, like I said, the zinger was better, or that we kind of know more about what actually happened to the son, because like it's all speculation at this point.
Yeah. Also, the thing with like not the thing at the something that I think might have been better for the ending. Now that you're like bringing this up, rather than have it say the hanged, like I am the hanged man, basically, maybe have it not Tom, like be the last thing.
Yeah, but also, why would he bother saying that?
I don't know, just like as a final like fuck you before he kills the kid or the son. Like it's probably like
torment him more.
Yeah, like it's probably a demon or something like that that's like doing this. So,
I mean, he basically straight up did say not Tom by saying I'm the hangman. Like
that's true. Yeah,
he's calling out his own name.
Yeah. Actually, that might have been what like kind of brought him to more directly into the world of the living to do with whatever he did to Luke. But again, you're saying like we like it would be nice to have like we don't I think it's fine to infer what happened to Luke because like that's also just as scary, like not knowing. But
yeah,
like to what you're saying, like yeah, like it would be know a little bit more about what happened to Luke, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. And me not knowing about how Ouija boards actually work in regards to like proper etiquette and hanging up the phone and stuff like that, and calling the right people instead of just doing an open call. I kind of wish that the writer also knew those things too. Not that they do or don't, but that it was said in the story.
Yeah,
in regards to like the son was doing it a certain way, and then the mother did it the wrong way because she didn't know, and that was the reason that this happened.
Yeah, like especially when they say like they describe what the Ouija board is, and so I'm surprised like she didn't add it was like there's some rules to using these things. I wish I had known about.
Yeah, and that would be a good reason or a good point to have it so like the son and the mother use it together, because like she used it the one time, talked to him quote unquote, and then she like freaks out and says don't use it because she's scared or selfish.
Yeah.
But then when she does give him access to it again, they sit down and use it together. And then and then Luke's like, no, you don't do it that way, you do it this way. And she's like, oh, what happens if you do it the other way? Oh, that's what happens? Yeah, I did. That's okay. Yeah, no, I totally didn't do that the first time.
Yeah, I was like, oh, I totally did. Yeah, of course, I totally did that way. Thank God.
Yeah, totally. Yeah,
yeah. Like,
and then she has doubt in her head that whether she's actually talking to her husband or not.
Yeah,
there's a lot of ways that this could have gone, but it didn't go. That would have made it better. Is basically what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah.
So I'm still staying on a partial for what it is, whether you read the room or not. But especially read the room when you send it to someone.
Yeah. I think that's also just good sense for any of these, like any horror story. Because like,
I mean,
some
of them are pretty universally like okay to share, where it's just like a scary monster.
Yeah, but like sometimes like they like a lot of the time though, horror stories do deal with like themes of trauma and like certain baggage that like people are dealing with in the real world. So
are there flags on Reddit NoSleep?
I don't know. I know we occasionally get them on creepypasta.wiki.
Yeah. I don't think they're on Reddit though. I guess you'd have to put them in yourself at the start of the story.
Yeah. Let's see if there's anything. I mean, there's there's a sidebar like guidelines and like copyright stuff, but I'm not seeing anything for like triggers or stuff like that. Again, I guess it's supposed like it's like all right, you're reading some stuff from Reddit NoSleep. You may want to brace yourself for what you're reading.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yep. But I guess is that it then?
Yep.
Okay. So 2 partial recommendations and 1 recommendation, but like conditional, like read the room, like we've been kind of hammering in. And I think that'll do it for this week's episode. So if you like what you heard, or if you didn't, leave us a comment in the comment section below where this gets posted. 2 of us are on Blue Sky. Mikey is at the E Stands for Evil, and I'm at Review Cultist. So you can check us out there. You can also send us emails at aldentebrigamortis@gmail.com. That's ALDNTERIGAMORTIS@gmail.com. Where you can also leave us suggestions for other creepypastas, SCPs, spooky things. You creep it, we'll peep it. Yeah! And if you'd like to help support our show financially, you can go to Patreon. Select the back tier you'd like to support us at. We have $2 and $5 tiers. No, sorry, hang on, I don't do that. We have special episodes, early access, and extra content. To our patrons that help support the show, thank you immensely. You're helping keep those hosting bills at bay. And as always, we very much appreciate that. And to our listeners and the authors of these stories, thank you immensely, because without your listenership, it'd be like screaming into the void.
It'd be like using a Ouija board and asking questions and not getting answers.
And without your stories that you write and post online for people to get spooked at or creeped out by, we really wouldn't have much of a show because we have nothing to talk about. So thank you. Until next time, I have been your host, Review Cultist.
I'm Mikey, the E stands for Evil.
And I'm the gamer in yellow.
And this has been Al Dente Rigamortis. Sleep well.